My mother let her husband abuse me. Years later, they want me back now that he's dying. You ever read a story online and know instantly it's about you? That happened to me last week. I was eating cold pizza, scrolling Reddit like always, when I saw the post. My daughter abandoned her dying stepfather, and me, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was her. Cheryl, my mother, or as I now refer to her, the woman who watched me get broken for years and did absolutely nothing. It starts with a memory. I was 9 when he first called me stupid. 12 when he first yanked me by the hair and slammed my math book against the table because I didn't show my work. 14 when he backhanded me for rolling my eyes. And every time, she was there. Cheryl, watching from the kitchen, silent, frozen, or worse, siding with him. Allie, don't provoke him. Allie, just listen next time. Allie, he's your father now. You will respect him. But he wasn't my father. My real dad died when I was 6. And Gary? Gary was a monster wrapped in a polo shirt and cheap cologne. I was 18 when I left. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. I had $300, a duffel bag, and a community college acceptance letter in my inbox. Cheryl begged me to stay. Said I was being dramatic. Said Gary was changing. I told her, he can change in hell. And I walked out. Never looked back. Never wrote. Never called. I got a job, rented a room in a moldy apartment, and clawed my way into a normal life. Then last week, I read that post. And suddenly, the past wasn't past anymore. She painted herself as the saint. Said she raised me alone for years after my dad died. That she finally found love again in Gary, and that I never accepted it. That I was cold and ungrateful. She didn't name me, but her Reddit username? Her picture? The location? Yeah, anyone who knew us would know. She said Gary was dying now. Lung disease. That the medical bills were piling up. And that her selfish daughter refused to even pick up the phone. The top comment? Wow, some kids really have no heart. I slammed the laptop shut. Why, I never told anyone I tried. Once. Back in high school. Told the counselor Gary was hitting me. She asked if I had bruises. I didn't. Not that day. Just fear. And fear, as it turns out, doesn't leave marks that people care about. They called Cheryl in. She cried. Told them I was acting out. That I struggled with discipline since my father passed. And Gary? He bought me a new phone that weekend. Like a reward for staying silent. A few hours after I saw the Reddit post, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. But I knew the tone immediately. Allie, I know you saw what I wrote. I'm sorry. I was just desperate. Please. He doesn't have long. He wants to see you. I didn't reply. I didn't throw my phone either. I just stared at the message, feeling nothing. Which scared me more than anger ever could. Some people think time heals everything. But time doesn't heal what you never acknowledged. And silence? It's not peace. It's a prison. Cheryl wants me to come back. To play the good daughter. To sit at the deathbed of a man who destroyed every shred of self-worth I had. But what she doesn't know is, that girl she raised? She died the day she was told to call her abuser Dad. The next morning, I opened my laptop. The post was gone. But in its place, a new one. From Cheryl. She's trying to ruin my life now. My daughter is turning people against me. Why is she doing this? And suddenly, everyone was watching. I wasn't planning to respond. Not publicly. But when Cheryl posted that second message, accusing me of ruining her life, something snapped. Not rage. Not sadness. Something deeper. Tiredness. Tired of pretending the past didn't happen. Tired of carrying the weight in silence while she spun herself into a martyr online. So I made an account. At HonestDaughter87. And I wrote everything. It started small. Just one post. One comment thread. I'm the daughter she's talking about. The one she says abandoned her and her dying husband. People were watching. I knew that. But I didn't care. She forgot to mention the part where her husband screamed at me, slapped me, told me I was worthless. Or the part where she stood there and did nothing. I kept typing. She wants sympathy? Let's talk about how I had to practice how to flinch less so he wouldn't get angrier. About how I learned to eat quietly, breathe quietly, exist quietly. I didn't name her. But like her post, I didn't have to. It spread faster than I expected. People started replying, sharing, private messaging. Some were shocked, some were angry at her, and some told their own stories. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. The next morning, I woke up to over 1,000 notifications. My post was everywhere. People were calling it brave. Others were tagging Cheryl's account in the comments. She deleted her post not long after. Then she called me. I let it ring. She texted, "Allison, please. What are you doing? This isn't fair." Fair. That word again. The same word she used when I cried after Gary slapped me for coming home 5 minutes late. This isn't fair, Allison. You're making him upset. The same word she used when I asked why she never defended me. It's not fair to Gary. He's doing his best. So no, Cheryl. This is fair. Finally, Ethan, my roommate, one of the few people who knew even a fraction of what happened, sat next to me that night. He read my post. Didn't say anything for a while. Then, "You're not going to stop there, are you?" I shook my head. "No, I'm not." The story wasn't done. Not even close. Because if Cheryl thought she could gaslight me through the internet, she clearly didn't remember who I'd become. I made a follow-up post. Let's talk about the time Gary ripped my journal in half because I wrote about missing my dad. Or the time he made me kneel on rice for half an hour because I forgot to close a cupboard. Or the time Cheryl told me I'd never survive on my own, and now she's asking me to come back. People were furious. The more I shared, the more people shared too. It wasn't just my story anymore. It was ours. And the internet? It doesn't forget. 2 days later, a reporter messaged me. Said she was writing a piece on elder abuse, family estrangement, and power dynamics. Wanted to include my story. I hesitated, but then I said yes. Because maybe someone out there is still stuck where I was. Maybe they need to hear this. I changed the names, gave the facts, didn't hold back. A week later, the article went live. Headline: When your abuser is called dad, a daughter's fight to be heard. Cheryl didn't text me after that, but Gary did, or someone using his account. I raised you, and you repay me by destroying everything? I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed, "You didn't raise me. You survived me." And I blocked him, not out of fear, out of finality. The kind that leaves no door open. 3 hours later, a package arrived. No name, just a return address from Lincoln Falls. I opened it. Inside was a framed photo. Me, as a child, sitting on Gary's lap, crying. Cheryl smiling in the background, like it was a happy memory. There was a note taped to the back. "In case you forget who you are." I put it straight in the trash. Because I haven't forgotten. I remember everything now. And I'm finally ready to tell it all. I got a letter in the mail. Like, an actual letter. Envelope. Stamp. Handwritten address. Not a DM. Not a text. Not another guilt-drenched Reddit post begging strangers for sympathy. Just paper. And a signature. "Cheryl, I know you're angry. I deserve that. But you don't know everything." Classic. When manipulation stops working, they switch tactics. Mystery. Secrets. Emotional bait. Like maybe I had amnesia. Like maybe I imagined the bruises and the screaming and the silence that followed. Like maybe I was the problem. He's asking to see you. One time. He might not make it to the end of the month. I stared at that line for what felt like an hour. And all I felt was nothing. No rage. No panic. Not even pity. Just empty. I don't hate him. I just don't acknowledge him anymore. That night Ethan asked me, "You gonna go?" I raised an eyebrow. "Are you serious?" He didn't push. Just shrugged. Sometimes showing up isn't for them. It's for you. Maybe he was right. Maybe it wasn't about closure or forgiveness or some Hollywood movie reconciliation. Maybe I just needed to stand in front of them one last time and prove I was still here. Unbroken. So I went. Back to that house. After 15 years. It looked smaller. It always does, doesn't it? The monsters shrink when you're no longer a child. But the smell was exactly the same: fake flowers and stale air and lies. Cheryl opened the door. She had that look people wear when they're not sure if you're going to slap them or hug them. I walked past her. Didn't say a word. Gary was in a recliner, hooked up to some oxygen machine. Pale. Deflated. Like a balloon losing air too slowly. His eyes met mine. And he actually had the nerve to smile. "Allie, don't call me that." He nodded. His hands trembled. I thought I was doing what was right. I laughed. Cold, right? Beating a kid is right. I didn't know how to be a father. You didn't try. You didn't want to be. You wanted control. And Mom let you. Cheryl opened her mouth to speak. I cut her off. I'm not here for a family reunion. I'm not here to comfort a dying man. I'm here so you can see what survival looks like. Gary shut his eyes. Whether it was shame or just exhaustion, I didn't care. Then Cheryl said the one thing that truly pissed me off. I suffered too, you know. I turned to her, slowly. You made a choice. You chose silence. You chose comfort. You chose him over your own daughter. I stepped closer. And now, you get to live with that. I left the house. Didn't look back. At home, I sat on the floor with my tea, next to Ethan, and said nothing. He didn't ask. He just sat beside me like he always does. And somehow that was more healing than any fake apology ever could be. 2 days later, I got another letter. No name. But the handwriting, I knew it. Inside was a check. $10,000. No clip to it. You deserved better. I'm sorry. Cheryl. I brought it straight to the bank. Tore it up at the counter. Dropped it in the trash can beside the deposit slips. Because forgiveness isn't a transaction. And I'm not for sale. A few weeks passed. I thought maybe that check was her final move. A pathetic attempt to throw money at a wound she never cared to stitch. But Cheryl doesn't quit when she loses. She escalates. One morning, Ethan walked in holding his phone like it was radioactive. You need to see this. It was a blog post. Local lifestyle blog. One of those fake deep, healing journey spaces full of filtered sunsets and quotes about forgiveness. And right there on the front page, Cheryl. A full interview. Title: My husband is dying and my daughter cut us off. Here's what no one tells you about estrangement. I sat down. Not because I was overwhelmed. Because I didn't want to break anything. She told the story like we were a Hallmark family that fell apart over a teenage misunderstanding. Claimed Gary struggled with communication. Claimed I was always sensitive. Claimed she did the best she could. She never used my name. But again, she didn't have to. The article was shared over 200 times. Comments flooded in. Kids today have no loyalty. She'll regret it when he's gone. She sounds like she was brainwashed. I didn't cry. I got mad. Because this wasn't just gaslighting. This was a public rewrite of my trauma. She was trying to paint herself in soft light while I was still trying to forget the sound of my own screams. So I did what I do best. I responded, but not with rage. With truth. I contacted the blog. Sent them my side. Not a rant. A record. Dates. Incidents. Screenshots. Hospital notes from when Gary threw a plate and it ricocheted into my arm. The ER visit. The nurse who asked, is everything okay at home, and how I lied. I offered the receipts. And the editor? To their credit, they listened. They published a follow-up. The other side of estrangement, one woman's story of surviving her stepfather's abuse. This time, they used my real name. My words. My face. The comments shifted. Some people still didn't get it. They never will. But others? They spoke up. Told their own stories. And suddenly, I wasn't the outcast. I was the mirror. A week later, I got an email. Subject: I had no idea. It was from one of Cheryl's old friends. A woman who used to bring casseroles over when I was sick. I believed her, she wrote. But after reading your article, I went back and remembered some of the things she used to say about you. How she always talked like you were a problem, not a person. I'm so sorry. I didn't reply. But I read that email 3 times. Because that's the thing about the truth. You can bury it for years. But when it starts to rise, it drags everything else with it. That night, I got one final message. This time from Cheryl's number. No begging. No guilt. Just one line. I hope one day you become a mother, so you can understand how much it hurts. I stared at the screen. Then I typed, maybe I will. And I'll love my kid enough to protect them from monsters, even if I married one. Blocked. Done. Free. The envelope was plain. No return address. The handwriting was tight, careful. At first, I thought it was another Cheryl stunt. But when I opened it, the name at the bottom almost made me drop it. Gary. Not Cheryl. Gary. Dated 2 weeks before the article came out. Written by hand. He'd mailed it from the hospice. I didn't know if I should laugh, scream, or light the thing on fire. Instead, I sat down and read. Allison, if you're reading this, then I guess I didn't get to say it in person. Already a weird start. He continued. I've been thinking a lot about what I did, what I was, and how I talked myself into believing I was doing the right thing. He talked about his own father, how he was beaten, broken, taught to dominate, not raise. I told myself I was being firm, that it was tough love, that if you hated me, at least it meant you were strong enough to stand up to something. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I got to the middle. But now I see it. I see how I became the very thing I swore I'd never be. And you didn't become me. You fought it. You got out. You're stronger than I ever was. It didn't make it okay, but it made it real. I know it's late. I know I have no right. But I wanted you to know I remember every time I hurt you. Every word. Every silence. And I am sorry. He ended it with a wish that I'd live free, that I'd never teach my kids the way he was taught. And a final line, you were never broken, Allison. I was. I folded the letter, put it in the drawer. Didn't cry, didn't rage, but something shifted. Not forgiveness, not closure, just air. Like a window cracked open in a room I hadn't realized was sealed shut for years. That night, I told Ethan. He just nodded. What do you feel? I thought about it, then said, relieved. Not for him. For me. Because now, I don't have to imagine what he'd say. The next morning, the hospice nurse called. Gary had passed. Quietly. No visitors. They asked if I wanted to claim the body. I told them no. But I mailed the letter back. No return address. Just my handwriting across the envelope. I know. The weirdest part about healing? It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't come with fireworks or some big speech in the mirror. It comes in the quiet. When you can sit in your own living room on a Tuesday night and realize you haven't thought about them in days. It started small. I changed my phone number, deleted the backup accounts, blocked her email. Gone. No more Cheryl. No more sudden guilt bombs dropping in my inbox. I talked to a therapist, not for the past, but for what I wanted my future to look like. And for the first time in my life, I started thinking about having kids. I used to be terrified I'd turn into her. But now I know exactly what I won't be. I won't be silent. I won't choose a man over my child. I won't ask for loyalty without earning it. One day, I walked past a little bookstore and saw a poster in the window, local writing workshop. It hit me. All those words I poured into Reddit posts, maybe they could be something more. So I signed up. The instructor was this older guy named Pete. Wore a hat indoors. Kept calling writing exorcism without the priest. I liked him immediately. I wrote it all. From the first slap to the last letter. From the screaming matches to the silence after. Every single chapter. And when I read the last page out loud to the class, there was this hush. Not pity. Not shock. Just respect. A kind of quiet that felt like being seen. That night, Pete came up to me. You should publish this. I laughed. Nobody wants to read about some girl who got knocked around by her stepdad and ghosted her mom. He raised an eyebrow. Are you kidding? That's exactly what people need to read. So the next girl who's still stuck in it knows she's not crazy. She's just not broken yet. So I did it. I published it. Self-published, nothing fancy. But it found readers. And messages started coming in. Girls. Women. Even a few men. Telling me their versions. Telling me I gave them language for something they thought was just shame. Telling me I helped them stop apologizing. I didn't need a legacy from Cheryl or Gary. I made my own. And one day, maybe I will be a mom. And when that day comes, I'll raise my kid with light, not silence. With love, not fear. And with the promise that they'll never, ever wonder whose side I'm on. Because the cycle ends here. With me. It's strange how quiet life gets when you finally stop waiting for an apology that's never coming. For years, I thought closure had to come with words. I imagined it like a movie scene. Tears, hugs, dramatic music playing while someone finally says they were wrong. But real life doesn't work like that. Real closure isn't something you're given. It's something you take. And that's what I did. I took back everything, my name, my voice, my peace. And I rebuilt. At first, it felt awkward. I didn't know how to exist without constantly scanning for danger without flinching when someone raised their voice. I didn't know how to accept kindness without wondering what the catch was. But slowly, things changed. I started sleeping better. I started laughing without guilt. I stopped apologizing when I hadn't done anything wrong. I still have the scar on my arm from that night with the plate. It's faint now, almost invisible. But when I look at it, I don't see pain. I see proof. Proof that I got out. That I made it. Sometimes people ask if I forgave them. Cheryl, Gary. And here's the truth. I didn't forgive them for them. I forgave them for me. So I could let go of the part of me that kept waiting for a different childhood. For a different mother. For a version of the story where I wasn't the one holding the blame. Because the truth is, they weren't capable of being who I needed them to be. And that's not my fault. It never was. There's this one morning I remember. A few months after Gary died. I was walking to the little cafe down the street, and I saw a dad holding his daughter's hand. She was maybe 5. He bent down, tied her shoe, kissed her forehead, and they kept walking. That scene, something so simple, broke me a little, because I realized I never had that. And then, something amazing happened. I didn't feel bitter. I just felt grateful that she did. Because that's the difference between surviving and healing. Surviving is learning how to keep breathing when everything around you wants you to suffocate. Healing is learning how to feel again, how to hope, how to want something more. I started volunteering at a youth center last year. There's this girl, Jasmine, 17, quiet, angry in that way kids get when no one ever listened to them. She reminds me of me. We talk sometimes about music, books, nothing heavy. But one day, she asked, "Were you always this calm?" And I told her the truth. No, but I earned it. She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. Maybe she will one day. I still keep Gary's last letter. Not because I need it. Because it reminds me of what I left behind. Because every now and then, I need to remember what silence cost me and why I'll never pay that price again. Cheryl moved, apparently. One of her old friends emailed to say she started going by her maiden name again. She told people she was working on herself. Good for her. I don't need revenge. I don't even need recognition. I just need distance. And I have that now. Ethan and I moved into a new place. Bigger. Brighter. No ghosts in the corners. We adopted a dog. Her name's Penny. She sleeps on the bed, hogs the covers, and refuses to leave my side when I'm writing. Some nights I stay up late, staring at the blinking cursor on my laptop. Writing has become my therapy and my rebellion. Because every time I tell this story, I reclaim a piece of myself that they tried to erase. And that's power. So if you're reading this, if you've ever wondered whether your pain is valid, whether your voice matters, whether you're allowed to say enough, let me be the one to tell you. Yes, you are. You do. And you are. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to build a life that makes sense to you, even if it makes no sense to the people who tried to control you. And you don't owe anyone your silence. Not anymore. So here I am, still standing, still speaking, still free. And I'm never going back. So if this story hit close to home, drop a comment, share your experience, or just say same. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because here, we tell the stories no one else dares to. The ones that hurt, but also heal.